What's up, guys? This is Showtime's Fight Forum. I'm your host, Showtime. Guess what? Today is another day we talk about some fights. Please subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Follow me at Showtime Sanders. Hit me up with anything, what you think about the show. Obviously, if you want to shoot the stuff, talk about football, fights, all that good stuff, I'm always down. Today's episode is going to be about 7 fighters that are not in the UFC that you should know about because they're very excellent fighters. So we're gonna go down to different organizations. I know I talk heavy UFC because at the end of the day, that's the pinnacle of the sport. That's where most of the best fighters fight. But there are plenty of excellent fighters that are not a part of the organization that still fight around in other places. One, obviously, we already know like people like Demetrius Johnson's, like the Eddie Alvarez, people who did compete but then moved on, or Rory McDonald's, all those good stuff. I'm not bringing them up because we all know who the hell they are. So I wanted to bring up some other people. The first one, and I brought her up in a couple episodes before, which is going to be Kayla Harrison. All right, I made some mistakes and I said 11-0. I don't know why I said that. She's 8-0. She did have her first fight at 145, which is that's interesting. That's interesting. And Invicta. So who knows, man? Maybe she gets some wins. She can go to Bellator, maybe go to UFC. We have a fight for Amanda, fight for Cyborg. Who knows? But that is a very interesting like prospect. She fought at Invicta. She was at PFL. She was dominating the competition there. Now she's Invicta. She's gonna dominate there as well. She's an Olympic gold medalist in judo. So in reality, what that means is she touches you, you're going to the ground. She's gonna, beat the hell out of you. Her stand up isn't anything to brag about right now, but hopefully she can develop that. Maybe she won't. Who knows? She might go to Ben Askren route and say, "Hey, my wrestling and my jiu-jitsu and judo is just so good that I don't really need to work on my rest of my game." But when she fights the Cyborgs and Amanda, that's definitely gonna have to be the case of her developing her game. But yeah, that's one of my fighters. I love her game. She's an exciting prospect. She knows nothing but W's. So that's definitely somebody you got to keep an eye on. If you don't know about her, you should. My next one is going to be Pitbull. Patricio Pitbull, they are brothers. All right. They're both phenomenal fighters, but there's one that just happens to be better than us. We all know we all have brothers and sisters, and then there's that one that they play the same sports, they do the same things, but there's that one that's just that much better. All right, and that's Pitbull. So Pitbull is he's 32-4. He has great wins versus Michael Chandler, Daniel Strauss. Like he has excellent wins. He's the face of Bellator and probably the best fighter they've ever had. If you want to just be frank, I mean he's the king, and he's not gonna go to the UFC unfortunately because he's probably making bank where he's at, and at the end of the day he's also fighting lesser competition. So I mean, why would you leave? It's just like Corey Anderson. Corey Anderson is the happiest man in the world right now because he's getting paid so much money and he's fighting lesser competition. In totality, once again, all because everybody, like the main gist of them are pretty much lesser. Doesn't mean that there's not excellent fighters because I don't want to disrespect the AJ McKees and people of that nature that are still great, still great. So yeah, so like I said, Pitbull. I mean, at the end of the day, he's UFC caliber easily. He could be UFC champion at 145. 155, no, I'm not giving him that much credit. 145, absolutely, he's capable of beating a Max and Alex. Not saying that he would, but he's damn sure capable. So then my next one, we're bouncing. We went from Invicta and PFL, and then we went to Bellator. Now we're gonna go to ONE FC, and that's gonna be Adrian Amos. I say Amos. Why did I say Adrian Amos? I know why, because that's my boy on Twitter. Adrian Moraes. What the hell? He just KO'd DJ, Demetrius Johnson, Mighty Mouse. Quote unquote, the greatest ever. I don't call him that, but a lot of people do. What? Who does that? Nobody at 125 ever done that. No, matter of fact, nobody's ever done that, period. And Demetrius fought dogs on dogs, and nobody's ever been able to finish him. So the fact that he's done that already makes me like, oh, well, we need to know about him. He's humongous for the division, like ridiculously big. He's 5'8", fighting at 125, and long arms, great striking. I mean, he's a jiu-jitsu guy. Like, oh man, the guy's good. 19-3. I believe he avenged all his losses, but if he hasn't, I think it's like one fight he hasn't avenged, but who cares? The guy's phenomenal. He's UFC caliber. And we'll see if he ever gets to the UFC or he stays at ONE FC and just keeps dominating. He's probably gonna fight DJ again, and we'll see how that fight goes. But the thing is that knockout also was not fluke. he won that first round also. So he was pretty much dominating that fight, in my opinion. He just had his number. So yeah. So once again, we went from ONE FC. Now we're gonna go back to Bellator. That's gonna be Vadim Nimkov. He's 19. I mean, not 19. He's 14-2, 11 KOs. He's a Samba champion. The guy is, I mean, he's great. He doesn't. I don't think he has the greatest cardio, but when it comes to stand up, I mean, he's solid. There's not really too much you could do. And personally, I do believe he's good enough to be a UFC champion. I think that he could possibly beat John. He definitely could beat Reyes. Like he could beat a lot of people in the UFC division. I mean, UFC 205-pound division. So I mean, he's tough. I like I said, his cardio does bother me a little bit. His wrestling is really good. So I mean, like I said, if you don't know about him, you need to know about him. Look up some clips. The guy's phenomenal. We'll see if he stays at Bellator 2 or goes to the UFC. My next one is my favorite prospect. And I mean, I don't think that he's gonna go to UFC route anytime soon because I think he's gonna make too much money for Bellator, especially if he beats Pitbull, and that is AJ Mckee. Boy's a star. His dad was a former fighter, and he just passed down his genes to an excellent fighter. Like AJ Mckee is a problem. 17-0. 17-0. And he dominates. I don't know if he's lost a round. I really don't. You have to tell me. The guy's he's just been dominant since he's been in Bellator. And it's not like he hasn't fought anybody. He beat Darian Metcalf. I said Darian Metcalf. Why I say that? That's funny because they wrestled. Darian Caldwell. I just submitted him. What the hell? I didn't know what that move. I was like, what is he doing? Hold on. Is he choking him? The fight's over. What? Now, okay, cool. AJ Mckee is a problem. And if he beats, especially if he dominates and finishes Pitbull, like, he might be the best featherweight in the world. Like, you can make that. If he dominates Pitbull, you can make a sound argument he's the best in the world, in my opinion. Obviously, you can say, oh, he hasn't fought Max, but Max hasn't fought him either. So that's my that's another prospect. Once again, big. You don't know him, look him up. He is so good. And we have not seen any flaws yet. Next one's gonna be Bubba Jenkins. Bubba Jenkins fights now at PFL. He just beat the champion, featherweight champion in Lance Palmer, who's another guy you should honestly know about. He's a good fighter as well. These guys are both excellent fighters. I do believe that these guys can compete in the Bellators. They can compete at the ONE FCs. They can compete in the UFC. Now, do I think they're good enough to be champions in the UFC? No, not at all. Hell no. But I do believe that they're good enough to be on the roster. My last one is going to be Christian Lee. Christian Lee, once again, he's a welterweight, but it's weird. The way ONE FC does their champion, their weight classes is kind of weird. Their lightweights are considered 170 pounds, but he's 15-3. I mean, the guy is the champion there. Very solid fighter, good wrestling, good striking. I mean, ONE FC is very tough. So if you don't know, ONE FC is in an Asian market, so you know that there's a lot of Asian fighters there, and we know that they're still developing programs in Asia. But there's a lot of great talent there, and there's a lot of great competition on ONE FC, and he's a champion there, so you got to look out for him. If you haven't seen him, please watch him fight. I think he just fought recently, and he won via stoppage. The guy's a monster. So, those are my 7 fighters that if you're not watching, I mean, if you want to learn more about the UFC, you want to learn more about MMA outside of the UFC, these are the people that you should start looking at because these guys are excellent and they bring it every time. But that's all I have for this episode. There's some people you think I forgot, some people that I should have mentioned. Put it in the comments. Let me know. I probably did not probably. There's so many fighters out in this world. There's people at LFA. There's people in other organizations that I didn't mention. Man, there's so many great fighters. So once again, if you want to bring up some, please bring it in the comment section. But thank you for tuning in. This is Showtime's Fight Form. I'm your boy Showtime.